Hello, this is Sabrina with a video tutorial for Clearsnap, and today we're going to be creating an art journal page. I'm using our line of color box spritzers, and I love these because they're an archival dye ink, which makes them permanent once they're dry. We're also going to be using our color box chalk ink, and we're going to be stamping with some items from the trash. I have these zucchini tops from our dinner, the squash tops, and we're going to be using those to stamp. So let's get started. Our background, I have a sheet of watercolor paper, and that's just taped down to a heavy sheet of cardboard, and I'm going to apply a nice wet coat of water onto the background. I'm just using a bigger, thicker brush that holds a lot of water, and I'm just adding a lot of water. That way, when we spray these little, when we spray the color, when we spray the spritzers, the color sort of just blends and bleeds and runs into one another in a very organic way. I think it's such a pretty effect, and I'm not really sure if there's any other way to achieve that same look. It's sort of almost like a tie-dye. But water makes that possible. Lots of water. Alright, so we've got this dark patch of blue, and that's not going to quite work for what we've got going on here. Since the water's so wet, I can just dab that color off, and it's not going to damage what we've got going on here. Instead, we can flick some color on just using the spray tube. So with our larger zucchini top, I'm going to add some texture with a thick acrylic white paint here. That's going to also help hide some of those areas that didn't blend exactly how we wanted to. And once all of that is dry, we're going to use the smaller summer squash top to add some smaller color details. Now I'm using the chalk ink, not really for any particular reason. It dries faster than the pigment ink, and it's also, when it's dry, it's permanent, so I don't have to worry about the heat or any humidity or anything disrupting that color. So we've got the yellow citrus shade here, just adding some light details to highlight that yellow shade of the spritzers, and then I'm going to go in with this red lipstick, really great shade of red, and I'm going to add some more details with that squash. Now, when you're stamping with food, the longer you let it sit, it's going to lose moisture, it's going to dry out. In this case, as this tiny top dried out, it really created a really interesting shape. It almost kind of looks like a cell. So over the top of that, we're going to add even more stamping. I'm using just my fingertips. The forefinger, we added some black chalk ink, and then with my pinky, I'm adding pink pigment ink just because the pigment ink is the right shade of pink that I'm looking for. So we're adding just a little bit here and a little bit there. And now when I look at everything, I kind of got in a groove. I'm just adding lots of layers. And when I stop to look at it, I kind of think, oh, there's too much dark color down in that corner. That red doesn't really work with the other colors we've got going on here. So usually when I come to this point, I have to just walk away for a while, and then I relied on a trick from card making. When a color is too bright, I like to dull it down with a little bit of vellum. So in this case, we just cut some leftover vellum scraps, and I'm taping those down over that area that I want to dull down. And over the top of that, I'm going to stitch those down, do a little bit of hand stitching, and add some other textural elements to this page before calling it complete. Thank you so much for joining me today. For more ideas and inspiration, please visit us at www.clearsnap.com.